You can't grow your trucking business on hustle alone. At some point, you'll need access to real capital. That means building and using credit the right way. Tonight, we're unlocking the credit playbook for truckers ready to level up. We're going to do that after we come back and say our hellos and all that wonderful stuff. And I forgot to have my, little button open over here so I could just click and go. So I'm going to ramble till I find my button. And now I'm going to hit the button. We'll be right back.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now.
Now here's a question that all owner-operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charlie from Contractors Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
Your business will make you money if you do well at that business. And ES Advantage in trucking, they do really well at providing those services. So the effect that ES has had on our personal trucking operations, not even talking about what we do on the consulting arena, I've been able to save thousands of dollars a year in fuel because of the relationship with them. I have a new accountant that I work with, trucker CFO, that I learned about from ES Advantage.
They're giving you that 10,000 yard kind of support from behind that creates a way for you to succeed, which is one of the things that we love, because anything you can do to help someone succeed is going to help them succeed. They make money by making sure you make money.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
Well, hey, everybody. Hey, Jeff. Watch,
Hey,
watch, watch, watch. Jeff got a fancy new camera. Watch this. Go to your left, Jeff. What? Wait, he must be rich and has a cameraman now. That's awesome. God, I need to get me one of them people. What's up, man? I like it. It looks good, too.
Yeah, and if you want to know what Jeff's reading.
Right? Look at that. What?
Yep. I got him up on my bookshelf. And I got to be careful here because Charlie told me to be careful.
Right. So he's going to use hand gestures with this camera. What?
Oh.
That is fancy, man. Look at that.
So for those of you that might do this sort of stuff or think about doing this sort of stuff, this camera only cost me $150. The question Charlie and I have is at that price point, how long is it going to last?
Right.
Because most cameras that do this stuff, Charlie, I did some research. Most of them are like $1,000.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a trip. You know, that's our only concern, because so far this, look at that. It just follows him. It's almost creepy. Look, if that thing starts spinning around like when you don't have it connected,
and then it starts doing out green pea soup. I'm just saying. I always get it backwards. Okay, so that there, back out.
Oh my gosh.
So what I got it for, Charlie, was for the Zoom calls.
Right.
That way I have a better picture, and if I move around and I can set it to my whiteboard and all sorts of stuff. But it's kind of cool. I've been playing with it. Yeah.
Camera made in China, 25 cents. Hey, whatever. If it works right now.
Let's be real. Almost everything's made in China these days.
And that seems to be our big problem. Let's be real. Oh, let's not go down this.
You know what's interesting about that argument, though, Charlie? Because I'll touch on it a little bit.
Oh,
when I was a kid, it was Japan.
right.
My granddad, everything's made in Japan, and the Greatest Generation fought Japan in World War II,
Right.
and he refused to buy like Toyotas and stuff. My granddad was a Ford man.
Right.
Right. Boy, he had a problem with Toyota. Big problem.
I think I've had them all. I liked most of them.
Hey, Mom, Dad. Guess what? We are volunteer training. Let's see.
The beauty of live shows. Hi, Pete. That was the look. That was awesome.
The dad
We
look.
saw the Jeff dad look.
Hey, some of you have seen it from me because you were on my truck for a while.
Right. Yep.
TK knows the Jeff dad look.
Oh man. So Craig Bott was first, of course, then Matt, then I just knew this a second ago. Oh, Sean, that's right. Sean came in third. Anyhow, whatever. Hi everybody. Glad you're all here. Yeah. Kind of an off day again. Still haven't gone back to work. I have to go back to work this week because bills, things, rent, whatever.
It's funny that now speaking of debt, here's one of the main things that I always talk about with debt is the saying from the Bible, which Dave Ramsey uses all the time, is that the borrower is slave to the lender. And boy, when you owe people money, you have to go to work because of that sometimes.
Right.
Or because you want to go do something.
Right.
That kind of sucks. So we'll get into that a little bit here today too. What are the pros and cons of borrowing money? Even if it is for a good cause, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your house,
Right.
whatever. But I think people need to realize the real consequences of being in debt and how it does create some stress.
And Jeff and I are both typically credit averse.
Mm-hmm.
And look, so from funding new trucks to covering unexpected repairs, credit can be a powerful tool when used wisely. Too many of us truckers are out here either avoiding it, abusing it, or just confused by it, right? We're gonna try and clear some of that up and show you how to build, repair, and leverage credit
as best we can, keeping in mind that we are not financial advisors, bankers, or lenders.
Yes, wait, let me uninterrupt that. Start over. Disclaimer, Jeff, go.
Just remember, guys, that we are not financial advisors. We're not bankers. We're not licensed for financial advice of any kind. So take what we say for what it is. On the show, it's all free advice.
And seek professional help.
Seek a professional to actually guide you if you get to that point where you think you want to do some stuff.
So I kind of disagree with my own layout here, but we're going to start with the myth of cash only growth. Look, in some worlds, that is absolutely the best way to do things. But then reality sets in and you don't got it, right? You just don't got it. Especially when
you have an opportunity.
Right.
Staring at you in the face.
Right.
Continue.
But why credit matters for business owners, truck repairs, or trucks in general, right? Fuel, business expansion. These are things that you could use credit for if you manage it wisely. And there is a definite difference between good and bad debt. If it's snatch that book, if it's managed correctly and used appropriately. I got to be careful with all the words I use because this is one of those scary topics. You know what I mean? Let me get my little graphic out here. It's that one there. Let's throw that up there.
I actually have an answer for you, Tim, but it'll be later on in the show. Give me a start.
Smart credit, low interest lines used to grow your business, right? Equipment loans that generate actual income more than the loans themselves. That would be smart. Credit cards that are paid off monthly. It says for rewards. I've never been a big credit card rewards guy, but whatever. I mean, hey, if it works, it works. Dangerous credit would fall into maxed out cards with no repayment plan. Here's where we get into that not managing things well. High interest loans for short-term fixes. I've done that. I had access to this business funding place. It cost a lot of money to get that money, but it got me through some tough spots at times. I didn't like the interest rates, but I mean, it was there, it was available, and access to some pretty decent amounts when I needed it that I just didn't have any other way. Commingling personal and business debt. Lord knows, Jeff, the Lord knows. I am a monster with this one.
Yeah.
I struggle with funding one to the other, and I get lost and confused, and that can open you up into all kinds of problems. Things such as tax problems, because you start commingling business and personal accounts, and they're like, whoa, buddy, let's check this out. What the hell are you doing? So it really is something you got to pay attention to.
I love your question on this segment, by the way.
Yeah,
I do.
Should I throw it up now just for fun?
Yeah.
Let me copy it. I got to figure out a better, more efficient way of doing that rather than copying it at the time. Anyhow, have you ever avoided using credit because you didn't trust it?
I absolutely have. More than that, I don't trust myself sometimes. I think it is a bigger issue, Charlie. Do you trust yourself to make those monthly payments on time every month? Especially the way things are. Let's be real. We see guys not doing so well industry wide still.
Right.
You can't borrow your way out of trouble. If you're in trouble, borrowing money is just going to make it worse. So I think you have to look inside yourself and determine, am I going to pay this debt?
Right.
Before you even start, and make that commitment ahead of time. But yeah, a lot of people don't trust. Right. And a lot of people don't trust banks, period. That's a thing. I'm not one of those people, Charlie, but I understand the sentiment when people tell me they don't trust the bank.
Right.
So building and repairing your credit, that's actually a tougher subject than I think. Thank you for giving this one to me. Yes.
You like that?
Yeah. Charlie didn't want to touch it. Now I've got to touch it. So this is part of our relationship.
Oh, my bad.
Charlie thinks this stuff up, and then Jeff's got to figure out how to find words. So I do want to touch on. Yes. I do want to touch on the difference between personal and business credit for a little bit, because Charlie and I have learned a lot about this over the last year or two.
Right.
There's a lot of myths out there about personal versus business credit. And the fact is that when you first start off in business, unless you're talking about a several $1 million startup where you put cash into it, you're not getting business credit. Period. You're just not.
Right.
They will you have these firms that say, yes, let's build your business credit. But what they're really doing is they're using your personal credit to get the business credit. And if you default on that loan, there is no separation between you and your business for that.
Right.
You are personally liable for that. Donna and I get credit card offers all the time from Mortco Transportation. And every single one of them has 2 signature blocks on it. One for me and one for her, because we're 50-50 partners in that venture. And you know what they ask for? They don't ask for an EIN. They ask for a social security number.
Right.
And this is for a business credit card.
Yeah.
So understand that until you get to the point to where you're making the big money, the millions, your personal and your business credit are very much tied together. It's not until you have a history with the bank, you're making enough money, and we are talking about the millions of dollars here, guys. Make no mistake. There's something magical about breaking that 7-figure mark.
Right.
Business. That's when banks start taking notice that, hey, this guy might know what he's talking about. This guy might know what he's doing. We want to help him grow.
Yeah.
And that's where the business credit really comes in. So for us as truck drivers, you're talking what, Charlie? 4 or 5 trucks.
At least, yeah.
4 or 5 trucks. You're building a fleet. You did it through a lease purchase program, or you used your personal credit to get the trucks. But you're showing now, because this takes a couple of years to do.
Right.
People that buy 5 trucks right out of the gate are foolish. We recommend doing 1 truck at a time, making each truck profitable, and then getting the next one.
Right.
And so you're using your personal credit to do this in the beginning, but as you gain a track record, and as Colton said last time he was on, because we had him on and he talked about this a little bit about business credit. With business credit, cash is actually king. What they're looking for is your balance sheet. Okay. And what that means, and most of us, Charlie, do you have a balance sheet?
Not today.
Okay. Should you have a balance sheet?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I'm not. Why I should have it.
Yes.
I was going to answer why I didn't have it, because I'm a dummy. But no, it's what maintains and shows you the health of your business.
Yep. And that's what the bank's going to look for. They're going to look for positive cash flow. They're going to look to see how much cash you have in the bank. Your first business loan might actually be, oh, you have $100,000 in the bank. Well, we will loan you $100,000. That may be your first business loan. You make good on that loan, and then maybe you get $200,000 the next time.
Right.
You make good on that one. You see, it's a lot like credit cards. You start with that $250 secured credit card, Capital One.
Right.
And you pay that off every month for about 3 months. And what do? They give you $500 of non-secured.
Right.
And you pay that one off for a couple months. Then they give you $1,000 credit limit on that card, and then $2,000. And eventually it gets to the point to where you can't possibly pay it off every month based on your income, which is what they want, by the way.
Right.
As with credit cards, I don't know if y'all know this, but it's called freeloading. If you pay before the due date, you don't pay interest on that money. Credit cards hate that. That's why they bump your credit high enough where they're hoping that you use that 10 grand in 1 month.
Right.
So now you're on payments at that 20. What is it these days? 20, 30%?
Yeah. Anywhere. Yeah. It's as high as 29, I believe.
I mean, yeah. Okay. I know some of you guys have those 1% credit cards. Filth for you.
Exactly.
Most people have that 20 to 30% interest rate on those things.
Right.
So business credit, on the other hand, they want your money. They want their money back. They're not interested in loaning you so much money that you can't pay it back like a Capital One credit card does. So when you're working with the bankers on business credit versus personal credit, there is none of this. Like when I bought my house, you remember, everybody knows the story. I had Mr. Swifty Swift mortgage broker, and his whole thing was outside the box, inside the law. Outside the box, inside the law. I literally borrowed the maximum amount of money that he could find someone to underwrite. That doesn't happen with business loans. They're looking at the health of your business, what your cash flow looks like, and what your cash on hand looks like. And they're going to loan you as much money as they think you can pay back. So don't get bent out of shape if you go to the bank and they say, well, we can get you half of what you're asking.
Right.
Okay. Because that's what they're doing. They want to make sure that first of all, the money can be paid back. And believe it or not, Charlie, a lot of the banks, what they're interested in is, are you going to use that money to grow your business, or are you going to use that money to go to Hawaii?
Well, and I was going to say, if let's say you need 200,000 as a round number to expand your business, and the bank says we can only give you 100,000, don't just accept it. Think out the process here, because if the 100,000 isn't actually going to do the expansion you need, Jeff choked on water. If it's not going to handle the expansion you actually are trying to do, then maybe you should wait. Don't take a loan just because now you got 100 grand and you're like, well, screw it, I can't put it in the business. I'm going to buy me a cyber truck for whatever reason. Right? Because
terrible example, Charlie.
I know. I'm just saying. But
so
look,
Donna saw a Cybertruck the other day, and she had to look inside it to see what kind of person would buy a car like that.
Right? In every walk of life, it seems. Oh my gosh. But anyhow, so my point is, just because they offer you an amount, make sure it's an amount that's going to, you can achieve something with. It's got to pay off.
Now,
you've got to be able to support it.
Excuse me. Now, how to fix bad credit? I'm going to take a different tack on this one, Charlie. And I'm going to say how to prepare to get business credit by repairing your bad credit history.
Right.
So you want to go through your credit report at least once a year. You can get a free report every couple of years, or every twice a year rather. Or sign up for creditkarma.com. They monitor your credit. It's free. Where they get their money is when you accept one of the credit card offers that they offer you to try and build your credit. Don't do that. Just take the free app.
Right.
But what it'll do is it'll show you any changes in your credit report as it happens, and it'll alert you. So you can go through and dispute any errors. Now, I'm going to caution you because a lot of people will try and dispute stuff that was legitimate. Don't do that. Be honest.
Right. Yeah.
If it's a true error, then take care of it. Paying down your debt. Again, cash is king in the business world, including getting business credit.
Right.
So you want your debt to income ratio to go from this to as close to this as you can get. Secured credit cards are a good way to go to build credit. And if you plan on expanding to be a fleet operator, right? I would say start now, start today with this, because you may get to that point. And I'm going to share a story here in just a second. You may get to the point to where you want to borrow money to expand your fleet. That point is not today for most people. It might be 2-3 years from now. So start preparing now by cleaning up your credit, get that personal credit score up above 650.
Yeah.
Which what I noticed after I moved to Utah and I stopped borrowing money so much, my credit score went to build it back up takes a lot longer. Okay. So plan on spending a year or two to do that. I didn't borrow money for so long, Charlie, that I had to get the Capital One deal to try and build credit so I could move from Oregon to Utah. And it took me about 2 years to get from the 450 I was at. From the only debt I had at all at the time was my house. So I had a good payment history on that, but I wasn't building credit. So that hurt me. It took me about 2 years to get it past 700. And that was making my payments religiously. Also, when you're building credit, one of the things I learned, and Colton will have my head if I'm wrong, so just so everybody knows. But what I learned was being a freeloader didn't help my credit as much as carrying a small balance forward.
Right.
Not very much, like maybe $100. Something that I could easily pay off real quick.
Right.
But like paying the credit card completely off every other month, I noticed that my credit score started going more vertical.
Right.
So, like I say, credit card companies, they want their interest rate. That's what they're in business to do. And so us freeloaders, they kind of hate us. So the myth of cash only growth, I want to go back to that and talk about building business credit at the same time, Charlie.
Yep.
We have a friend that we met several years ago. That was weird. Apparently I made a gesture. Several years ago at a conference, and he was, how many trucks did he have when we first met him, Charlie? Was it 5? Something like that.
Yeah.
And he wanted to build a fleet of at least a dozen trucks. And after talking to Charlie, he made the decision to roll his profits into the next truck and then repeat that process instead of using credit. And what he actually found, Charlie, because we talked to him at another deal we went to here this last year, he found that he was able to buy 3 trucks last year instead of 2.
Right.
By doing it. And he did it without going into debt, which means his cash flow is a lot better.
Right.
But now he's in a better position. If he wanted to just double his fleet, he's in a much better position because his cash flow looks so good. So I think his plan was to just keep rolling profits into the next truck until he gets to 12.
Right.
But people think that it's slower to do it that way. Unless you already have established business credit, it's not.
Right.
What he would have paid in credit payments, he's just rolling over into a savings account towards that next truck.
Yep.
Now, I would say it probably takes more discipline to do it that way. A lot of us don't have that discipline. So think about that. Think about what you want and then go for it. I would say start out by saving a butt ton of money.
Right.
Right. And then, I don't know, Hamey did this, right? He had enough money to just buy a used truck outright. But he also had enough money to put money down on a truck on the outside.
Right.
And have several tens of thousands of dollars left over.
Yep.
To cushion his cash flow. So he's one of those people that actually did it. I think he did a good job with leveraging credit.
Right.
Because he put a big enough down payment down on that truck to where his payments are much lower than a lease payment. And he did it all within, 3 or 4 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. He basically used his IEL lease experience to save a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then went out and got his truck on the outside. So now he's free to do whatever he wants. So I will point out, still at Swift, by the way. So he didn't just pick up his toy and go somewhere else.
Right.
He's leveraging. He's now free of the larger payments, and he's leveraging his relationships he's built at Swift.
Right.
Do just a little bit better than he was under the lease purchase program. But it did take him a couple of years. And I think that's where a lot of people, they think that they'll go get some business credit and it'll be all honky-dory.
We are an instant gratification society.
Yes. So we've talked a lot about the myth of the cash growth, how to actually build some business credit. And again, we're not the authority on this. I would say buyer beware on these business credit growth programs.
Right.
They tend to be a bit predatory, in my opinion. But what's one thing you wish you knew about credit early in your career, Charlie?
Oh, how to look. For me, it's always been my button. It's always been I lack the discipline. I go into it with a great plan. I'm going to get this. I'm going to pay every month and I'm going to pay it off and I'm going to do the right thing. And then I don't because something happened and I get myself into a bit of a deeper hole than I should have gotten into.
Right.
So, I did rely on credit very deeply early on, and then I started screwing that up. So I don't know how to answer the question directly other than, explaining the situations I found myself in. So I get in a deep hole and I'm like, oh crap. And then I got to just tighten the belt, do the things I got to do and pay it off. Then I tend to go for a couple years like that. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to finance this thing and this thing. And it's, whatever.
So, drug runner, I'm going to address this one right away. Do not do this.
Right. That's why I started that.
So you guys know my situation. Would a business loan be okay to pay out personal debt if it lowered monthly payments? Absolutely not.
Right.
I'm not even sure that's legal.
Right. But just to recap, going by the checklist here, pay your bills on time every time. Right. Keep your credit utilization under 30%. Meaning if you have $1,000 of credit available, you should keep that to less than 300 of that credit actually utilized. Checking dispute errors on your credit report. Jeff talked about, going in and getting your credit reports on a regular basis. They do that for free. And if you need to, start with secure credit cards and there's a thing, like if you've had an account for 100,000 years and it's been in good standing, they look at that, even if it's a small one.
Yeah.
So if you got a $500 credit card and it's been open for 10 years, they're going to look at that and go, hey man, you're doing great. You've never screwed that up.
Here's another piece of advice I got when I was building my credit up. Only use 1/3 of the available credit you have. This is for your personal credit. Now, obviously, if it's business credit, you're going to take that entire loan and go buy a truck.
Right.
But on your personal side, only use about 1/3 of what your available credit is, because that's one of the things that their algorithm looks at, is how much credit you have available versus how much you've already spent.
Right.
And that'll help you get the business loan, because they're going to look at that personal credit when you go for your first business credit. All right, Charlie, it's your turn.
All right. So, excuse me, having issues.
He always gives himself the easy ones.
Holy like crap.
That?
Hey, man, I don't know. It's because I started. It just falls in this way. I don't know. Business credit basics for truckers. So setting up business credit profiles through your EIN, Duns and Bradstreet's number. I'm not real knowledgeable there. Colton, when we did that show about business credit, talked a bit about it, and basically I felt like it was a pay to play type of thing. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. And your business bank account. Vendors that report to business credit bureaus, because business credit bureaus aren't the same credit bureaus that you are used to on your personal side. Can't remember the name of those. I'd have to go back to that show we did with Colton. He really talked a lot about it there. And separating your business and personal credit is huge. Mm-hmm. You really, that's what you're working towards, is to get that separation between the two. Graphic. Duh. Let me put this up. My bad. I gotta switch screens over here. Gosh, I'm not flowing today at all. But register your business with the EIN, right? Hopefully not your social security number. Get an EIN. That starts creating a little bit of separation. Your EIN will be tied to your social security number for a very long time. Like I said, get a Duns and Bradstreet number.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either, because it is a pay to play.
Right.
And what Colton was saying is that it doesn't matter as much as people think it does.
Oh, there it is. Monitor business credit through NAV and Duns and Bradstreet, because they're one of the ones, right? They're the people that track that stuff. You should have a separate business phone number and address, right? You know, these are little things though that can help in this process.
Right.
And establishing trade lines with reporting vendors, like I said, people who are actually going to report this as business credit use, not strictly personal credit use, because the difference is there. Yeah, I don't think this is a long segment because I think it's all fairly upfront. I mean, there, like you said, you know, the DUNS number, some people swear by it. Some people are like, oh, it's the devil.
Yeah.
I personally haven't ever dealt with them, but I know that they're there and what they're for.
Charlie, that by the time you're in the millions of dollars, once you reach that 7 figures, maybe you'll look at that a little more closely.
Right.
And the business that you're in matters too. I mean, trucking is considered high risk for lenders. So
especially right now.
So, you know, right now, if you could get an interest rate under 15% on a business loan as a trucker, I think you're doing pretty good right now.
Right. Where am I at?
The question.
Done. Have you ever used business credit for a major expense? And this goes out to you, the audience. You know, have any of you actually used business credit? I mean, you may think you have, but did you really?
I did for those crappy tires I bought.
Right.
That was my only business credit thing. My EIN and everything. At you know, Les Schwab over in Washington. They loaned me $6,500 for tires that cost me 0.49 miles per gallon.
Right.
But hey, I was in a logging community, to be fair, and they were logging tires. So
yeah. They're Michelins. They're going to be great. Rolling resistance, not great, but they lasted forever.
Dude, when I turned them in, they still had 8/16 on them.
Right.
And I was just tired of paying.
It was crazy. All right, let's go in.
How to leverage credit for strategic growth. That's a mouthful right there, Charlie.
I know, man. But it's not as. Oh, I should get rid of this graphic. I apologize.
Yeah. So you gotta be strategic if you're going to use credit. Okay. As a matter of fact, if you're going to grow at all, be strategic. You know, we talk a lot in the classes that I do on school, which is our subscription platform. Be strategic. Try and get emotion down when you're making business decisions. So let's say you want to grow your business. You want another truck. You want another 2 trucks, 4 trucks, however many trucks it is you want in the next 10 years. Work with your accountant. Work with your bank. Work with a banker. See if they make sure that your bank does SBA loans. Now, SBA loans are a little tough for truckers to get.
Right.
But make sure that they do SBA loans because they could present that as an option for you because they tend to have a lower interest rate and longer terms.
Yeah, like Tim just said, 3.5% through SBA.
Yeah. If you can get one, Tim, that's the thing. You got to be able to get one.
Right.
And the other thing working with your banker will do is they can sit down with you, like at Zions Bank, where I bank. We have a business banker just for business. And I can make an appointment with them and discuss, okay, I want to do this thing. And they'll advise you on the financial end of it. They'll look at your balance sheet. They'll look at your cash flow. And they can make recommendations for you for the financing of what it is you want to do. Now, a lot of times the answer is going to be, you got work to do. But you know what else they can do? They can tell you what they want to see before they can get you underwritten on a loan. They want to see this much cash flow. They want to see this much in the savings account. you know, and it helps you build a strategy for growth. You know, I talk to guys a lot that I'm going to have another truck next week. Oh, okay. Do you have a driver for that truck?
Right.
What's your plan for keeping that seat filled? You know, when you're going after business credit, one of the things they want to see is a business plan. What is your plan for keeping that seat filled? What's your overhead going to be for that truck? Including payroll, right? Payroll is an expense. Yet nobody's driving your truck for free, right? Have a plan for that. And you know, once you get that initial business credit card, which is the way most people are going to start out, by the way,
Right.
use it responsibly. You know, I think one of the interesting ways I've seen people build a little bit of business credit in our community, Charlie, is they use a business credit card to fund the ES card.
Right.
And then they pay it off every month. Because if you're fueling the way we teach, chances are you're not paying hardly anything for fuel anyway.
Right. Eventually it'll completely cash flow itself.
Right. So you should be able to cash flow that expense, which means you're paying that credit card off each month, right? Which means that you're showing the bank that you're a responsible user of credit. That's a good way to do it. Leveraging the credit that you have to expand operations, not just survive. Interesting thing happens when you add trucks. I think we figured it out one time that if you had 10 trucks, Charlie, you could pay people an awful lot of money and only get a couple $100 per truck for yourself, and you replace your income.
Right.
A week, right? So maybe $300-400 a week. That's $4,000 a week going to you. That replaces your income from driving.
Right.
So then you get to sit back and just run your fleet. What we like to call working on your business instead of in your business.
Right.
And for those of you guys that want to grow a small fleet, I'm going to just say that should be the goal if you're going to be a fleet owner. Get out of that truck. Build and leverage relationships. Work with the bank to leverage what you need to leverage to build the fleet even more. And before you know it, in 10 years, it's not way out there, Charlie, to have 12, 13 trucks on the road in a 10-year time frame.
Right.
But you have to be strategic. You have to have a plan. Oh, you already put the graphic up.
You like that?
I'm spacing now too.
I'm ready to recap, bro. I'm good with you right now. You were on a roll.
So the question for everybody on this one: what would you do in your business if you had access to $50,000 in credit right now? What would you do with that money? And this is a question that a lot of the guru types ask. Everybody says they want to have more money. Do you have a plan for that money?
Right.
If $50,000 dropped in your lap today, what would you do with it? I could tell you that in the last 5 years, that's happened to us twice. The first time I paid off my truck.
Right.
The second time I moved to Utah. The cat wants out, and we won't let him.
Apparently, he's got something to say.
Everybody on the show hears the cat.
It is prominent. So in recap, you use credit to finance revenue generating assets, right? Trucks, trailers, things of that nature, right? Apply for business credit cards. They actually have some benefits to them. Leverage your credit lines for short-term cash flow needs if that's what needs to happen. Separate your personal and business credit to protect your personal assets. That's where that step gets tough sometimes to make, especially when you're starting out and you're trying to get that. It takes the little steps to get to that step. And use responsible credit to expand your fleet and service offerings. If you're out there running your own numbers and you run dry vans, and maybe you're wanting to get into a flatbed operation as well, or maybe some reefers, things like that, that's what you should be using this money for. not to fund your trip to Fiji, right? With a plan for repayment and all of those good things.
Well, one of the things too, I'll point out because this just came to my mind, Charlie. So we recently had an opportunity that we got outbid on
Right.
for a small fleet. Really great operation. And one of the things that the guy selling told us was that he buys new trailers every 4 years. And that sounded kind of crazy to me until he explained what he was doing.
Right.
He was doing a specialty thing with wineries, and wineries are hoity-toity people, so he wanted all of his equipment to be perfect. But you know what he told me is he's like, well, it only cost me $100 a week for those brand new trailers.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal
Off
deal.
the top of his head, he knew. Well, it's only $100 a week for those brand new trailers, man.
Right.
Oh, well, that's not so bad.
Right. And so, what was awesome about that deal was that it came with the contracts and the connections.
Yep.
And basically the bank came in and said, wait, you're going to sell your business? We got you. And there's no competing with the bank. When the bank wants your company, we ain't got that.
There's no bidding war at all. It's just, okay.
Yeah.
The phrase that he learned with our middleman, he said with our middleman was, the bank made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Sorry, guys.
Right. And it was legit. I mean, you couldn't argue that,
No.
And it was a fantastic deal. And we almost stepped into something truly fantastic, but whatever. I mean, opportunities come and go, right?
But the thing is, and I want to reiterate this, Road Warrior Entrepreneurs, there's a reason why we chose that name. Charlie and I are always looking for opportunity. And, one of these days, one of them will hit.
Right.
We're looking at more risky ventures than we would have before. So yeah, it's Trucker Tim says with 50 grand, he would pay us $12,000 of taxes owed for the last year and maybe use the rest toward a down payment for another truck. Yep. Yeah, and
provided you can find a reliable driver. That's a tough one too.
That's a tough one right there. Depending on the operation, turnover may or may not be an issue.
Right.
I know, interestingly enough, for teams at Panther, I'm going to say that again, for teams at Panther,
right,
the turnover rate's not so bad. Among solos, it's terrible because us solo guys kind of get the leftovers.
Right.
But yeah, you look at your operation and how much money can a guy make? That's, honestly, for us, it's not necessarily about the money. We enjoy the game, right, Charlie?
Exactly.
So we're willing to take a hit on the money side a little bit, not too much, but it's in hopes of making more money.
Right.
We're very strategic in what we do. We look at growth opportunity versus money in the hand today.
Right.
Your drivers that you put in a truck, they're interested in money in the hand this week.
Right here, right now. In fact, can you pay me for next week, this week? That would be awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, people do that. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to run 5,000 miles next week solo legally in a 55-mile-an-hour truck. I got this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, the questions to, oops, that was a mistake. The question, I hit enter and that popped up, and good Lord. The questions for this week that we'd like you to answer in the comments after the show to try and keep that conversation going is, what's your biggest question about business credit? And have you tried separating personal and business credit? So both of those things are kind of interesting, and some people have, some people haven't, right? And questions you may have are vast and many.
Right.
Maybe you're a cash guy and you're just like, screw it, I'm just not going to do it, and I get that. That's fine.
Well, the advantage to cash. Okay, the advantage to cash is simply you don't owe anybody. Nobody's going to call your loan. Nobody's going to take your truck. It's yours.
Right.
And if you step out of the business, you can always sell that asset.
Right.
So there
Turn it
is an
into an RV.
advantage to working on a cash only basis. And it's what Charlie and I advocate. It really is. But the reason we did this show is because we get it. Not everybody has the patience, the skills, or the discipline to do cash only.
Right.
But you still want to grow. So let's figure out how you do that. And how you do that,
Responsibly.
the responsible use of credit. Every business gets to that point where they have to borrow money. I don't know a single business out there that, if you want to 10x your business, you're going to have to spend some money.
Right.
And what if you have this the opportunity Charlie and I were just talking about would require us to take out a fairly sizable loan to get that fleet. It was 12 trucks worth.
Right.
That's not a $10,000 investment. That's a $500,000 investment.
Right.
At least. So yeah, you're going to have to borrow money for that. You coming off of a one truck operation. If you want a 10x like that, it's going to take some credit.
Right.
Be very, very cautious. Be very, very intentional about the use of credit. Don't just willy-nilly go out and get a loan and then buy a car because you think that it's tax deductible for your business.
Right.
It's not actually tax deductible unless you need it for your business. But anyway, that's another show entirely.
Oh, don't even get Jeff started on this one. So inside Road Warrior Entrepreneurs, we help truckers become entrepreneurs, and credit can be a big part of that journey. Join us at rwe.com to get the guidance and tools to build business that lasts. And we'll be right back. You know what I'm going to do. You're either running your business like an owner or like an employee. And if you're stuck in that employee mindset, you're leaving money on the table. Company drivers wait for direction. Business owners create opportunities. Company drivers chase miles and just drive. Business owners chase profits and know their numbers. Want to run a real business? Start tracking your numbers. Know your cost per mile and start saying no to bad loads. Drop "I run a business" in the comments if you're done thinking like an employee. If you want to take this mindset shift further, join the Road Warrior Entrepreneurs community at www.rwedrive.com, where we have profit boosting strategies, coaching calls, and real road warriors winning together. So I'm back. Jeff stepped away. That's cool. Tim, I've often thought about selling my truck if I ever got into another lease, just not sure what the gains tax would be. So right now, I honestly think that you wouldn't get a huge gain. Especially if you depreciated it all out all the way completely already, whatever you sell that truck for at that moment is what you'll be taxed on for capital gains, because the entire thing would be a capital gain at that point. Sorry, still reading comments. So that's a thing. I'm not sure what the tax rate would be on it, being that I still haven't sold Chewy, and I wouldn't get much for Chewy with the way the market is right now. Anyhow, I missed that golden opportunity where I could have sold Chewy for 35 grand easy and just walked away. Let me make this bigger so it doesn't look like I'm looking off weird directions. There we go. And instead, the market is so bad right now that, I mean, you may think you got a $20,000 truck that you couldn't get $3 grand for.
Yeah, I think I'd be lucky to get what the tires are worth on my truck right now.
Right? That's the crazy thing, man. The tires alone are worth more than what the market's, bearing for trucks right now in some cases, especially on much older trucks, Sean is seeing if his friend made it, apparently. I was like, who's Shelton? Anyhow, Tim said I paid $34,000 cash for my 24 Hyundai Tucson I bought for my mom. Saved a lot of money not paying interest. Going to trade it in on a 2024 F-150. Yeah, no, look, if you can swing it, that's the smartest way to buy stuff like that, I think.
So he had another question that I starred.
Right.
Any owner operator buying a new car while it's an owner operator with Swift, will the dealership accept our check stub as proof of income, or do they require our tax return? When I was selling cars, people on a 1099, we wanted 2 years of tax returns for the financing. That was in 2004.
Right.
God, that was a long time ago.
Right.
But I don't think that that's changed. It's going to be different if you're an S corp versus a sole proprietorship, just a regular LLC. But I don't know. I would ask them. I would have your tax returns ready just in case. But if they'll take your settlements, I mean, just ask them.
I've had it go all of the ways. I've had them as an S corp say, "Oh, just bring me your W-2." I'm like, "Well, I own a company." They're like, "Yeah, just bring the W-2." They understood the S corp thing, and the income that Rosie and I showed on our W-2 was enough that we secured financing on the car.
Nice.
Right. Another time they're like, "Oh, let's see your bank statement." Okay, cool. Another time it was show us tax return, right? All of which worked. It was just a matter of which way the lender wanted it to be presented and verified.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of, it depends. Gosh, I hate saying that, but we say it a lot. But I think that should answer your question, kind of, sort of, not really. You're welcome.
Well, again, not experts.
Right.
Not licensed. But I think that would be a good one, though, Timothy, if you go do that. Get in the group and tell people what your experience was. Because you can't be the only one that's asking that.
Right. And Tim said, "I wonder if his truck would be worth more as a trade-in." Quite possibly. And CW said, "Watch for trade-in deals." Like, when that stuff pops up, I mean, they're usually short-lived opportunities, and you either jump or you don't. Always read the contracts, guys, because it may look like a great deal and you might flounder because you didn't read the little letters. I'm just saying, fine print's a mother. It's always has been, always will be. That's just.
I wonder if I could get the Ford place to just trade me straight across for my big truck for a Raptor.
Right. Yes. That's a deal they're making. They're ready for it. Tim had a question before the show, and a lot of us are actually in the chat for an hour or sometimes several hours before the show, because the chat is open once we post the show. And he had a question, whether or not Trump's new executive order requiring English would have a massive effect on the industry. And my answer is, I don't know.
I hope so.
Right? Good or bad effect.
What I find interesting about that executive order is all he's doing is saying, let's enforce the law.
Right? That's the funny thing. Everybody thinks a lot of these things are brand new, and they're not.
Half the country is up in arms about it. Half the country is like, yeah, it's about time someone did something. Well, it's been in the regulation forever.
Right.
This hasn't been enforced.
There's tons of laws and regulations out there that nobody knows about that are a thing because they're never enforced until they are enforced. And then now it's a problem, or now it's a great thing, right? We don't need new laws. We need enforcement of what's already on the books. Yep. Let's just be clear about this. I don't want new regulation. I don't want new micromanaging. I just want them to enforce what's there already on the books and is already established law.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That would be great. I don't know. You can take this into any subject, guns, legalize marijuana on the federal level. I mean, all these things, right? There's laws in place. Okay, so the marijuana thing is a law that actually has to change in federal regulation to become, but I get it. all these states are circumventing it by saying, oh, well, in our state, which they have the right to do, that's fine. But that doesn't necessarily stop the DEA, when the administration changes.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand about that is it's so first and foremost, it's a states' rights issue until you cross state lines.
Right.
And that's where we're at with that particular topic right now. Is it's still illegal. It's still on the drug schedule, being illegal in the United States on the federal level.
Right.
But the states, it's a weird thing, right?
Right.
It's like with your favorite topic, the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
The opposite land. You got states like California that ban just about everything, right? And they can do that because they can add to but not take away from the law.
Throwing up gang signs, yo.
Whereas with the THC and the cannabis or whatever you want to call it, the Mary Jane, I'll say it. It seems to be the opposite, where states are being a little more liberal with it than the feds are.
Right.
It's a weird thing, and it depends on the state and it depends on the subject. Full disclosure, I'm a big states' rights guy. If I don't like the way my state is doing things, I have a couple choices. I can either vote, I can get involved politically, which I don't really tend to do.
Right.
Or you know what we could do in the United States, Charlie? I know this sounds crazy. I did it. You did it kind of sort of years ago. You can move. Did you know that, Charlie?
Right.
You can move to a different place. It doesn't even require a passport or a visa like it does in Europe. You can just move. A lot of people don't realize this.
What's that old joke? If you live in a desert and can't grow food, move.
Yeah.
How do you argue with that logic? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this, but in Europe, you can move from country to country, but you have to have the visa. And those countries are about the size of the states here in the United States.
Right.
So I was just listening to a German comic talking about his first trip to New York. And he's like, in 2.5 hours in Germany, I could be in 3 different countries. In the city of New York, 2.5 hours, and I'm not even outside the city yet.
I'm going to start a new country in Europe. I'm going to call it Hermadikistan. And I want to make Jeff the supreme ruler.
I want to move to Skipistan.
Yeah, Skipistan. I don't know. Skip has your money. I'm just saying.
The new book came out yesterday.
Yeah, I hoping that it downloaded already. Yeah, I haven't worked in 2 weeks, so I don't get on Audible except when I'm working because I don't want to listen to my books here. Does that make sense? Because it's perfect time out there on the road. I don't know. So I don't listen to any of my books when I'm home. It's crazy. It's even though I'm like chomping at the bit for the next piece of this series or that series. Oh wait, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
I'm not putting it up.
I'm not either. We'll go to Ida. Yes, Jeff, you can always move to different places. Exactly. And look, I know people that have set themselves up with remote jobs, so it doesn't matter where they live.
Well, being a trucker, you can live pretty much anywhere you want. It is one of those jobs.
Yeah. I mean, we know people that literally live in the truck.
Yeah.
There is no home address. Maybe they have a storage building somewhere, or they, drop mom's address for mail occasionally, right? Whatever. But they don't actually have roots anywhere.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting life. I can't do that with kids and grandkids and stuff. Not me personally, but I get where people are doing it. It's fantastic. I mean, I've heard about and talked to people that said, I was homeless.
Yeah.
And I lived in a truck. And I bought a house for cash because I lived in the truck for 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, one of my students did that.
I mean, it's there's ways to do things, if you're willing to do things.
Yeah, I had a student that did that. He was on my truck, and then his wife went out with him. She didn't drive; they were empty nesters, but they just went out on the road for 2 years, I think it was,
Right.
and paid cash for 2.5 acres in Castle Rock, Washington, and then went out for another couple of years and built their dream house. That's how they did it.
Right.
Very, very driven.
Sean said, on a positive note, he's booked out 4 loads deep, pulling his first IGT load now. So that's
Nice.
cool. Doesn't stop over there.
I don't know what a woman is, but okay.
Right. Just derailed me. Completely derailed. I really need structure today. I shouldn't read chat. Trucker Tim, I'd just love to see them get rid of the 70-hour rule. Who says I can't drive 10 hours a day every day? It's like they're trying to limit our income potential. I'd like some lenience, leeway, good or bad. I feel like I know when I am dangerous. And here's a weird thing about me. I take far more chances by myself in everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm driving my car, my pickup truck, whatever, I am a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I like to take risks for myself. If someone else is in the vehicle, I drive completely different.
And we
Completely
appreciate
different.
that. Those of us that have been in a vehicle with you.
Right? I know, like when Rosie and I are teaming and I'm just having one of those days where I've got no energy, whatever, I know when I need to stop and take a nap, and I will absolutely do that. I'm actually a little less likely to do that, and telling on myself, when I was driving solo, right? Even though there's no change, because I'm still stopping and taking a nap for a half hour, an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, but I'm like, I'll just push it a little bit harder, right? So I mean, you have to know these things about yourself. You have to know yourself. And the problem is they don't give us that leeway because too many people don't know themselves. Or, they just decide, well, I can't, I gotta do this. And that's when it gets sketchy.
Right.
I don't want some people out there running, 92 hours of drive time. And there's other people at different times when you're like, man, I could run 120 hours of drive time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things, I get these weird cycles left over from the military. I go through this weird thing where I'm like on fire for 36 hours.
Right.
And I could solve all the world's problems and do all the work I need to do. And then it's hard crash, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other days I'm like, man, I just got out of bed. I stretched. I walked to the bathroom and I'm going back to bed. But you need to know that about yourself, and you need to actually follow your own cues, right? And a lot of people don't understand those cues. A lot of young, not necessarily young, but new drivers, let's say, newer professional drivers, commercial vehicle drivers, think that they are invincible. And they can drive 18 hours. Some of them can. Doesn't mean they should.
Well, I remember back in the day when I first started, I was 34, give or take. It was a lot easier to do those long hours than it is now. You gotta take your age into account too.
Right.
I think as we gain more experience, though, too, we become more aware of when we're getting fatigued.
Yeah, wimpy. Those last hours driving after a 2-hour nap are awesome. I agree, man. But you know what? I've had days that it's the opposite too. I'm like, God, why did I take that nap? Now I'm just dragging. I can't get going. Right. I mean, it's a thing. Going back to like what we were talking about earlier, that's what Ida did. She lived in the truck till she had money for a house. Yeah, exactly. New drivers don't know their limits. On the other side of that coin, some way older drivers are too stubborn to stop. Yes, I'm one of those guys at times,
Mhm.
right? I am constantly telling Rosie, if you get tired, you let me know, you stop. Don't think about it. Just stop and say, hey, I'm taking a nap. We're going to get there eventually. We'll be fine. You know, um, Ida and her crew in the office. I mean, I've been standing in the office and heard people calling, look, I am beat. I'm halfway there, but I am just beat. Take a nap. We'll reschedule. We'll do it. We'll let the customer know. You know, don't abuse that.
Right.
You know, like you Swift guys, Swift team guys, you know, we got a message that came out, you know, about a certain account, not to name names, that's in jeopardy right now because we're not making it on time. I don't understand how those loads aren't making it on time, for one. And I truly believe that people are just abusing the time that they have. Oh, I got so much time, I'll screw around at the beginning, right? And then it becomes dire at the end and they don't make it, and that sucks. Um, there's so many different factors to think of. Um, yeah, Wimpy, that ain't wrong. That's why Rosie drives nights. She actually prefers it. I used to love driving nights for the very same reason. Driving nights are so stress free. You know, near zero traffic, then 5 a.m. it turns crazy. About 4:30 in Atlanta. I'm just saying what Rosie refers to as the white wall. Jeff's gonna fall asleep on us right here.
Oh, man. It's been a day, bro.
Oh, I know. Trust me. Oh, Jeff, no one's gonna understand what we're talking about. Microsoft called me
Oh,
and I was talking to this guy. I was struggling with the accent, and he had me do all the things I was already doing just to get to the end and say, okay, we're gonna have to close your ticket and start a new ticket, and I need you to word it like this so that you get to the right department because I ain't it.
oh,
Bro. I really figured they were going to call during the show. We'll see what happens. Look, we still got another half hour, 45 minutes to go. And I'm telling you right now, if they call, I'm putting myself out because I'm not missing it because you know how that's going to be. I got to get this Microsoft thing fixed.
yeah. Because if you don't get that Microsoft thing fixed, Charlie, we can't do the contest.
Right. And for the contest, for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about doing a little video contest where we're going to offer and give away some money, maybe a substantial amount, maybe substantial to some, maybe not to others, whatever. Don't kick us in the nuts.
Yeah, we actually have a sponsor we're working on for this contest, guys. So have a little bit more patience. We're working on the back end technology right now to be able to get the videos. But what it's going to be, and I'm excited about this because you know how many Swifty Swift websites are out there already.
Right.
Truckers doing dumb things. Swift done screwed up again. This, that, and the other thing. What we want from you guys is video of four-wheelers doing stupid stuff in front of trucks.
We got to isolate that sound somehow because that was a sound effect that could be used in so many things. Ding! That was
That could be
great.
used in some of the videos we get from you guys.
Right?
We'll have a contest, and the voting will be live on the show to see who's got the best four-wheeler screwing up in front of a truck video. We know y'all, all of y'all who have webcams have something.
Right.
It's just a matter of downloading them and getting them to us, and we're working on the way to do that, and that requires Microsoft.
We tested it today.
Yeah, we tested it today.
It worked. I'm just worried about getting locked out of it because I can't log into my Microsoft stuff the right way. Right now it's open. It hasn't, I'm not going to say the words. It's been open for a long time and okay. But at any point, if it logs me out, I am hosed. So that's a problem. So we're trying to get that fixed. And apparently I have to go through data protection team, something or other, because whenever I set up the Microsoft Authenticator, I have two Microsoft accounts. I have a personal one and a business one. Don't start.
I already went up on that today.
Yeah. I used my email and my phone number on my personal one, and I could never set that up on the business one. So all I have is the Authenticator app to verify my credentials. I got logged out of my authenticator app, and it says, hey, log into your authenticator app because it's my only source of verification, and give us the code. I'm like, but I can't log into the authenticator app. It's this doom circle of death and frustration. And gosh, the guy laughed at me. He's like, look, next time you use a phone number. I'm like, I tried that. You wouldn't let me use the same number on 2 accounts. Whatever.
And Wimpy, that would be our dog Basil that's changing the pots and pans. He actually spilled something next to me. I don't know what it was. It didn't sound wet, so I'm not concerned.
Throw a child on it. That's what I would do. But yeah, I love the one guy with the long nosed Pete that posts those videos of stuff cars do in front of him. Yeah, and
maybe he'll enter the contest,
right? Hey, be a couple bucks. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're working on that. We actually have most of the content written. We just got to implement it, put it up, and make it happen, and lock the sponsor in, and it's gonna be cool. I think it'll be fun. So if you got dash cam videos, we're hoping for nothing over 2 minutes long. Get to the meat of the video. Try to keep it under 720p if you can. If you can't, whatever, we get it. We'll fix it. Not everybody's technology people. We get it. It's just a storage issue. We've got so much space that we can use, and if I'm out for a week, I can only access that stuff from home because of my Microsoft account. Gosh. Oh, I pay money for this. I'm just saying. God. But, I don't realize until I try to do something new.
You sound like you might be asking for some French fried taters soon.
Mm-hmm. Nobody today. Mm-hmm. Hey, stop it. See, you triggered me, man. What was it? Josh triggered me on that song earlier. I can't remember now. That's great. Whatever. It was inappropriate. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, if you want to change the subject, please feel free to do so whenever you'd like, and we'll do our best. If we start getting a bunch of chat real fast, bear with us because we're old and we're slow. But we got great insurance. Oh, don't even get me started talking about my personal insurance. Did I tell you about that, Jeff?
You did.
God. 30 years my account with Progressive started over this month as if I'm a brand new customer because of a snafu in their side.
So all those benefits you had.
Oh, dude, all straight to the front of the line on phone calls, all that's gone. So I'm going to be shopping for car insurance. I'm probably going to USAA because why not? They actually like people. I'm just saying. Gosh, man, car insurance sucks. And I went through a broker agent 30 years ago, so I've been stuck in that loop. And the one here in Florida has not been pleasant to deal with because there was some rule through Progressive that once you've been with a broker agent and not going directly with Progressive, which you couldn't do back in the day, you were locked into that kind of system. And oh my gosh, it's stupid.
Everything's stupid, Charlie.
Nobody's cheaper than Progressive. I would disagree. Ooh, bit of a lag there. I wonder what that was.
I don't know.
That was cool. I saw my head stuck like this for a second. It was awesome. Whatever. Nobody's cheaper than Progressive. That just kills me. You ever try to get truck insurance through them? Just saying. It's
like twice.
They're known as the highest out there.
Yeah. It depends. It
depends.
Insurance is a thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Wimpy, next time once I get that worked out. I just started a new policy, so yeah, I'm running that for a bit, so I have a little bit time just to look. They were going to suspend our driver's licenses, the state of Florida. That's how we even found out the insurance got canceled. Like, what do you mean? Because it's been on auto pay forever, right?
Yeah.
And apparently they didn't process. They charged us in January, said, hey, there's a thing. We're going to bump you up in February. They bumped us up in February, took the payment. We're like, okay, good. The problem solved, whatever. In March, they didn't bill us or they didn't take their money. And they said, oh, you didn't pay March and you went more than 30 days. So your account cannot be reactivated. I'm like, this is check this out.
That sounds like a call to
Insurance
the
on the new
insurance.
policy. I don't understand it.
Sounds like a call to the insurance commissioner.
I just, gosh, holy crap, Nick. Nick said, "Hey guys, I had a stroke in the truck a month ago. That's gnarly, bro. Glad you're still here,
Yeah, no kidding.
because that's one of those big fears out there, man. Stroking out in a truck alone, right?
Well, I told you guys what happened to me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
You know, now Don is really on my case to get out of the truck.
right.
You guys
Rightfully
know,
so.
stuff like that happens. You're by yourself. Nobody knows it for 3 days.
Oh my gosh. And look, and diabetic bodies, as in no longer living, they go quick.
Do they?
Yeah, I don't know why, but they go quick. It gets soupy real quick. I know that's morbid, and I'm just saying it's not pleasant. That is not the way to find somebody. Sorry, Donna. Not trying to put visions in your head, but geez, Louise.
Would you?
Yes, because you call more often than that.
Donna says she would know more inside of 2 days because I call.
Exactly.
Call your loved ones, guys. Call your loved ones.
Look, yeah, I got people that expect to hear from me on a regular basis. Some of those I'm not so great at, let's be real. But at least I usually text back at some point. Nick said, "Thanks, I'm recovering fantastic, but it was wild. I don't remember much, but the last 2 weeks, wow. That is nuts, man. Do the therapy, dude. Whatever therapy they're throwing at you, do all of it, because stroke therapy, oh my gosh. That they say that the biggest thing with a stroke is getting back to reconnecting and reestablishing those neural connections as fast as possible, because the longer it takes you, the worse it gets, and the more likely it is to have those deficits. So, I know a guy, I don't speak to him anymore, had a major stroke and was hit bad, but he got right into that therapy. I mean, right away, great insurance, and really did everything that he was supposed to. And you can barely tell anything about him, but now he's definitely mindful of those things, Yeah, Ida's a great person. That nobody would know for 3 days thing, absolutely not happening to any of my drivers. If I even think you're not okay, I'm calling people to check on you. Yeah, like legit. Ida called me this week because I haven't been to work for 2 weeks. She's like, "Hey, how you doing? You need to talk?" And I appreciate it. Yeah, and I explained to her I'm just having one of those things where I just needed some time, and I've been completely non-productive other than like 2 or 3 days during 2 weeks, much to Jeff's dismay and everyone. Like Craig texted me the other day. He's like, "Hey man, give me a call when you get a chance," and I'm like, I didn't call. And today, when we got into the chat early on, I'm like, "Hey, Craig, sorry I haven't got back to you." Something along those lines. I know I got to get with you, blah, 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 right? And he's like, "It's cool, man. I know you've been busy." And I'm like, full honesty, I have not been busy, bro. I'm just in a funk, and I'm working it out.
I have seen pictures of Charlie's Minecraft world, though.
Look, there's peace in some of those. It was peaceful until last night, Jeff. You know what I did last night? I lost all my stupid Uber gear.
Karma is a bee, isn't it?
Oh my God, dude, so much work. I finally got everything upgraded as far as it could be upgraded, Jeff.
You know what I'm thinking? Karma.
Yeah, whatever. I love you, man. Dude,
Charlie does things in that game that I didn't know were possible. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'm telling you, dude, I got to send you a link to my realm, bro. You'll be amazed at what I've done there. You'll log in there and you'll be like, I never need to do anything. There's just everything is there. It's awesome. But I still got, see, that was my thing. I left my happy known world.
Yeah.
I went into a fortress and dug a hole and fell to my fiery death. The worst. Wait, any of you who know Minecraft, I'm just saying. Look, Ida, he sent me pictures of all them square turtles. Yes, I did that. It was funny. I had a turtle farm going. Yeah, Matt, I know you called a few days ago, not a response. Yep. Same deal, man. Just been in a funk, bro. Just doing me time. And there are certain things I absolutely have to do. And those are the things I've done. That's it. It's not great. Anyhow, fell to my fiery death, Jeff. I made it out of the lava, all the way out of the lava, up a couple steps, and died. Couldn't get to where my stuff was before it despawned because it's a 5-minute timer. Without jumping in the lava and dying again to get there. Oh man, it was such a bummer. Whatever. I just lost 30 people.
Hey, Trucker Tim, I'm actually looking forward to the Minecraft movie. As soon as it hits a streaming service, I'm going to watch that thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it in the theater.
Apparently, there's a thing. It's almost like the what do they call the current generation, Charlie?
I don't know. I've lost track.
But apparently, they've made it into a bit of a Rocky Horror Picture Show experience, and people have actually been arrested.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Throwing popcorn at the screen, and
that's hilarious.
So we might have a PG rated experience instead of the old drag queen.
Right. Man, that'd be a trip. Gosh, now you're making me want to go see it in a theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, totally. Just tons of things piled on all at one time, and it's just, I have to go back to work this week. It's gonna happen. I got to go get tires in the morning, Jeff. Still haven't done that. I know, bro. I know.
Yeah, chicken tractor. I don't know what it means, Charlie. Do you know what a chicken tractor is?
Not in the Minecraft sense.
Okay. Is there an inappropriate sense?
No, there's a legitimate chicken. I can't even talk. Those words. Like thing out there. It's a great way to raise real chickens. Just saying.
I know what those are. Yeah.
But I don't know. Apparently, Sean knows some things. Look, I played for a while, and then I lost everything in a horrible place that I couldn't get back to, and I literally rage quit that day. And I haven't played for like a couple years, and I just started playing again. And yeah, dude, one of my grandsons, the youngest grandson, came into my realm and raided my boxes while I was in a crazy place, and I came back to get my diamonds and stuff. They were gone. He used all of them. I'm like, well, go do some mining, man. He's like, I tried. I didn't find anything. I'm like, you were there 2 minutes. Man. My oldest grandson came in last night. He's like, I don't have the patience to do what you do.
In Oregon, we had raptors, right? And we raised chickens there. And we used chicken tractors to keep them safe while they were grazing around the yard. So apparently chicken tractor is a line, Black says, and it's the theater trigger.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a video where a theater manager was yelling at the crowd saying, if anybody yells chicken tractor, I'm calling the cops. And it's not for you, it's for me after I beat your butt.
That's funny right there. Oh my gosh. So Ida, you know what? It's funny around here. It's not the birds of prey that get chickens. It's the freaking raccoons. They are murderous death creators. My buddy had a bunch of chickens and they kept raiding. I mean, I don't even know how they got in because this thing was crazy secure, and they figured out ways to get in, and they'd get in there and murder chickens and not even take anything from them.
Really?
It was nuts, man. It was gross too. Good Lord. My dogs caught a raccoon the other day. That was fantastic at 3:30 in the morning. Just saying. That was not pleasant.
We had a raccoon try and take our dog once.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we were gone somewhere, so we took our dog at the time, Strider, to my in-laws' house for the weekend. And a raccoon came up under the house, grabbed him, and tried to pull him under the house.
Oh, good Lord. Mr. Hissy Pants steals the neighbor's chickens. Good God. Oh, the dog that I had in work.
Dr. Doom, Matt, I'm with you on that one.
Right.
Superman, I don't know. Henry Cavill is now Superman to me, and he's not playing it in the new one. So, I don't know. It's hard to beat Christopher Reeves and Henry Cavill in that role.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve. Someone's going to call me out on that. It's Christopher Reeve. There is no Reeve. There's no S on it. Whatever. I got to appease the fanboys.
I let it slide. I'm just saying. I like saying Christopher Reeves to people. I almost stress the S for fun, just to watch their reactions. People who know, they know.
Yeah.
And those people are funny to watch. I'm just saying. I don't know. If you guys got anything, please by all means throw it up. And good Lord, we're going crazy places again. I love this. This is what's fun about this. Never know where the hell the second half of this is going. We've been really good at staying on topic for our first half now. Some people like it, some people don't. That's cool. Whatever. I get it. We do the educational stuff first, and then we get into, the crazy brains. Oh, that's a different name.
I'm reading that comment now. No, because the speed limiter is by contract. Has nothing to do if you own the truck or not. It's by contract. My 16 has 3 different settings on the transmission. It's got economy mode, it's got performance mode, and it's got manual mode. So I already had the full suite of options on that. What I can tell you is that while you're leasing the truck, they won't make any ECM changes that they don't think need to be made because of warranty stuff. But once you do own the truck, feel free to go have that ECM worked on.
Yeah, you can do anything you want then.
I would recommend taking it to a Pittsburgh power place. And you don't have to take it to Pittsburgh. They have remote locations that you can do this at, right, and get their tune on the truck. And just tell them that by contract, you still have to have it governed at 6870. Because you don't we've seen people get burned by that. So just don't mess with that. But what Pittsburgh Power will do is they will make it as fuel efficient at those speeds as they can using the settings.
Right.
And they'll ask you, how fast do you want to drive? So tell them exactly. Don't lie. If you drive 68 everywhere you go, tell them you drive 68 everywhere you go.
Right.
They're going to tune it to get the best fuel mileage at that speed. You also find you also find that with their tune, you'll have a little bit better performance in the mountains too.
Right.
I don't understand it, and they won't tell you what their codes are because it's proprietary.
Right.
And it will cost you, on one of the newer trucks too, it'll cost you about $2,500 for that too. So what I would recommend you do as well is change the password on that ECM, so that if you put it in a Swift shop or something, they can't mess with it.
Right.
Because they'll call you, hey, we're going to do an ECM update, but what's your password?
No. Slow motion. Convince our boss that, Jeff.
On what?
That's what John said.
We need the Pittsburgh Power term. I don't know what the warranty stuff is on those trucks. So
It's different when it's your truck and someone else's truck. So let's just be real about that. But yeah, once you pay it off, I mean, you can go in and get your ECM tuned and worked on and all that stuff. If you're on a lease with them, it specifically says you cannot do that.
Yep. We've tried to fight that fight, and it's just they won't listen.
Yeah,
My last conversation with Juice on that, Charlie, was, come on, it's me. He's like, I know it's you, but if I do it for you, then I have to do it for everybody because
right.
it's an actual thing.
May the 4th be with you.
That's coming up. How come they can't release Star Wars movies on the 4th?
Right?
Although they have they're gonna do for those of you that are huge Star Wars fans, they're gonna do the original 1975 release of Star Wars in theaters next month.
Huh.
Limited run.
That might be fun just to go sit through.
Yeah, just for the nostalgia of it.
Right?
You know?
Because I still remember seeing it in the theater, and it was awesome.
None of the fancy CGI edits or none of that. Just exactly the way it originally was in theaters.
Right. Blackbeard, is the ECM password universal or is it per truck?
It's per truck.
Yeah. Unless, a huge fleet sets it up. I mean, it's something that they can set. So, yeah.
It used to be your driver code. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they started changing it because people were doing shady things. So I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I didn't see that.
My Corner USA is going back to mentoring, he says.
Right.
We've been hearing that a lot. Just remember, if you go back to mentoring, there's two things. You can't have Seabright, and you have to put that camera in your truck.
Yep.
Not an option. $1977. See, Trucker Tim, you're a better geek than me.
Right.
I know that that's one of the first movies I remember seeing when I was a kid. I
don't know what damn year it was, but
So I was like 4.
Shut up.
What?
It's 4.
You're only a couple years older than me, Charlie.
I know, but back then that was like huge difference.
Yeah, I know. It's not like you're a decade older or something.
Right. Look, there's a point in the year where my sister is, 7 years older than me as far as my brain's concerned, and the rest of the year, she's only 6. And even better is she enters a new decade far before me, and every time she hits a new 10, I tell her, "You're old as hell." She hit 50 long before me. She's gonna hit 60, and I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. What do we got going on? I don't think I missed anything. It's been kind of slow in chat today, man.
Yeah, that might be something though that you look into, Charlie, what the passwords are for the ECMs.
Right.
How do they set those up? That'd be kind of interesting to know.
Yeah, I can ask and see what I can find out. A lot of the shop guys are not friendly to me because I'm a thorn. I built the anti-relationship with some of these Swifty shops because I don't know. I expect them to do certain things and they don't like doing them. Whatever.
Charlie, you expect them to do their JOBs.
Don't use those 3-letter words.
I got just as salty about it as you are.
Speaking of salty, want to throw that idea out there?
Oh, yeah. So we had this idea, guys, for the 13 of you that are still with us.
Right.
We thought about opening up a segment and opening up our phone lines. We do have phone lines. We just don't normally open them up because nobody ever calls them anyway.
Right.
But I thought we would call it the salt shaker, and you could call in and be as salty as you want about anything. We like to keep it industry specific, but we think it would be kind of fun to just let people vent a little bit right here on the show. So what do you guys think of that?
In your voice, not ours, reading your comments.
Yeah.
And you know, you're limited how much you can actually type in the chat. Let's just be real.
The only thing we need to ask is please don't swear, because then we've got to disclose that to YouTube that we have swearing.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. But yeah, so I think that might be an interesting segment to do. If people want to do it, it would be definitely interesting with some and eye rolling with others. I mean, whatever. Just be prepared. I mean, we roll our eyes at you. We got something to say afterwards. You can bet on that.
Yeah, we could have some pretty good debates.
Right? I think it would be fun. You could do it either on the phone, or we could probably throw out a quick video invite even. I mean, that's a possibility, Jeff.
Yeah. Just don't take the video invite if you're going to be driving.
Right.
Please don't do that.
Good Lord. Does anyone else have something beeping in the cab? Oh, Matt, that's the device connected behind the dash. Sometimes when it loses signal, it's trying to locate a signal or something like that, or rebooting itself, and you'll get that. And it freaked me out for a while. But what I typically do, usually it happens when I turn the truck on. Something happened in the start process. I didn't wait for all the clicks to stop, whatever, and it didn't boot correctly. So I'll turn it off, wait a couple minutes, turn it back on. I get a few beeps, and then it stops. Ida, could I vent about the things drivers tell me other driver leaders say to drivers? Absolutely, at your own peril.
Be as salty as you dare, Ida.
You know who watches things. Just saying, you got to be careful. Oh, man. You can be salty, Craig. What do you mean you're just waking up? Man, you got in here first and then went to sleep. What's wrong with you? Good Lord, Craig.
Who's being salty? Everybody's salty at times. I wish I could take credit for the idea, but it was actually an idea that came from Tony Dennis. He's like, guys,
right?
People love to complain. Why don't we give them an outlet for that? And I'm like, that's a good idea.
What do you guys think? Any of you interested? I know James said, heck yeah. Anyhow, let us know if you're interested. Drop it in the comments. Who knows? Engage after the show. That's awesome too. Yeah. Let me look around.
Matt says that's why he called you. So he really needed help today, and you didn't answer the phone.
Sorry, Matt.
Oh.
Well, that sucks. I mean, look, there's going to be problems from time to time. Not every unit is 100%. Let's be real. It's technology, man. I mean, there's problems here and there. I still think it's a better system than the old system, honestly. I really like it a lot more.
Well, I've just been noticing a lot of complaints on like the Swift drivers group. A lot of complaints with it, but so Charlie, when you got it, they were still actually didn't even have the whole thing coded yet.
Right. They were still building stuff. It was crazy.
So now they're past that and they're releasing it to the whole fleet, but I don't think that it's 100% at this point. I don't think.
Right.
Swift. I mean, they like to do their own thing. Let's be real.
Yeah. Sean said, count him in on the salt shaker. I like it. That could be fun. We're gonna have a lot of eye rolling with you, Sean, just because it's us. You know how we do. Oh, yours isn't. Matt said his is not. Mine is not automatically switching my duty status when I started driving. The lady in the log didn't understand my issue until she saw I was on duty when I was driving. Yeah. That'll learn them. Yeah, and that sucks. I don't even know how to process that. That would just make me crazy. I think it's too sensitive, man. I move 2 feet and it throws me on drive and it bugs the hell out of me.
Even on yard move?
No. But sometimes I try to finagle, you know. It bites me every time.
That's interesting. Ida says that she's finding that the older drivers are taking to the geotab easier than the newer drivers.
That's funny, right? Yay,
Yeah.
old guys. If you know, you know, Sean. That's right. Mike Henderson, I'll have to listen to the replay. Son moved today. Bummer, man. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Matt said, for now, I have to manually switch to drive until I can get by a terminal. That sucks.
Well, you know what they say. If it's not one thing, it's another.
Right? Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot here. It's about 10%. Sorry, reading chat. Yeah, no doubt, Mike. Mike said that older drivers have been through a few changes already. But you know what? I mean, I was very resistant, yet volunteered for it, right? I don't like change. I don't like change is bad. Change is bad.
Well, I think it's easier for you, Charlie, if it's a change that you volunteer for versus being forced.
Right. I figure it was coming no matter what. I might as well get ahead of it. That's really why I went into it.
Well, I was the first owner operator to get the Zonar.
Right.
In a 2016 truck. They had to literally build a harness for it, like right there.
Scratch.
What was funny is, so I did it at West Valley City at the body shop there. And the guy was like all excited that he got to build this.
One of my people right there.
It's like, yeah, this is awesome.
All right, guys, we're coming up to the end here. Last call. You want to get?
So you're still on Samsara then with the new carrier drug runner, Sean, whatever. I know your name. I like the Samsara system, Charlie. It's all on my phone. I don't need a separate device at all.
Right.
So, and it's a separate app from the messaging app, which is also on my phone.
Right.
I mean, it just, the only problem with the Samsara is because of the way it works. So the truck talks to the cloud, then the cloud talks to my phone. So sometimes there's an uncomfortable delay when I start driving for it to kick on to drive. But that's the only thing with that system.
Sean said, I think they forgot to turn camera on. I don't want to.
So, Sean, I wouldn't have said anything because, you know,
right?
The owner of your truck might be watching the show. I don't know.
Mike said, I still don't have geotab. Getting it tomorrow. Look, man, go into it with an open mind. Just saying. It's a learning curve like everything else.
It's a thing. It's just a thing. That's all it is.
Indeed. Tim said he likes the geotab, but just doesn't like that it's connected to the Point app. Point's been the problem for us over the last couple of weeks, man. Even with me being off, I'm seeing the messages and I'm like, good Lord. Oh, Sean said he has a 10-inch tablet with his.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, change is bad. I get it. But, you know, at some point you're going to have to make changes. You don't have to like it. You just got to learn how to make it work. You know, it's like anything else.
Yeah, I bought that tablet when we were in Phoenix, and that's what I use for Trucker's Path now.
Right? That's what I do. I've got a nice little mount that sits just above the it holds my screen just above the dash cluster. Speedo and all that. It's low enough that it doesn't hinder, you know, a huge sightline issue or anything like that. It actually works out pretty good. It's actually kind of off to the right just slightly to get it low enough to where it doesn't cover anything and it doesn't block any mirrors or anything for me and Rosie. Because when I put it up at the first time, I was like, this is awesome. Rosie's like, I can't see the fender mirror. Dummy. She's like, I can't even see. There's like a whole dead section over here.
Well, Charlie,
I know.
Rosie.
I forget. Whatever. I try, but I fixed it. Whatever. All right, man. I think we're gonna call this a couple minutes early, Jeff.
So should we talk a little bit about what I'm working on?
Oh yeah, you can do that.
So for those of you guys that are in the school community, which do we have that up there? Or are we still on Seabright on the scroll?
I'll put it up.
Can you put it up? So if you're part of our paid community, it's $47 a month to join that thing. And we have a good core group so far. We'd like to grow it. But what I'm working on right now is some training for you guys that are in that group. And it's actually going to be a 6-part sequence. And we're going to be going over this book right here, Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. And it's going to build on what Josh did for us in January. And the cool thing is, like, if you guys have missed out on, excuse me, our previous trainings, it's all up there in the community. You can go back and watch Josh's best year ever. You can watch the previous trainings I've done on mindset. It's all there for the replay. Once you join, you have access to everything. And then the goal is once a month, at least, to have a live Zoom call with everybody where I present some of what my training is.
Right.
This one, I'm going to try and you guys that are in the group, let me know. Get in there, get active. I'd like to see a little more engagement in there, honestly, because I need to cater it to the times that you guys can actually attend, because attending the live training is better than just going on the replay. My goal for this one, once I start it up, is to do it once a week for 6 weeks. So it's going to be a 6-week training. And there will be homework, Charlie.
Oh.
I'm just saying. But you got a whole week to do it.
Right.
But yeah, we're going to dive real deep into the whole vision and mindset stuff. Now that I have an actual framework that I built, I'm pretty excited about the training, and I think that you'll find some value in it.
And he's got legit certifications.
Yeah, it's part of what I've been working on for the last several months. Getting that education so that I can be better at coaching people.
He's building credentials.
Yeah. So there's the website, rwedrive.com. If you want to sign up, go ahead and do that. I'm going to start this sequence in the next week or two. Again, get in. You guys that are already members, get in there and let me know what day and what time is best for you. And I will take all of that into account when I schedule my time. In the past, we've had a pretty good engagement on Saturday afternoons, Charlie.
Yep. It's weird, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of guys, there's no freight on weekends.
Yeah.
That might be what it is. For me, I'll just so you all know, Sunday is my family day, so I'm not doing anything on Sundays. Charlie knows that.
Yep.
But any other day of the week is fair game. I just need to know what you guys prefer so we can come to some sort of consensus, because I'd really like you guys to be able to attend the live trainings. And that's what I've got for the Road Warriors out there. Other than that, keep the rubber side down. And remember, with no action, there is no traction.
And like I always say, look after each other, everybody. There's no one out here looking after us but us. We'll see you next week, 6 p.m. Oh, wait. I didn't do the thing. Hang on. I gotta tease next week's show, right? Good Lord. The road to financial freedom, budgeting, saving, and building wealth as a trucker, how to take control of your money, budgeting systems and savings plans, and the path from surviving to thriving in trucking. That's what we're going to be dipping into next week, guys. So be ready for that one. Woo whoop. And yeah, we'll see you guys right here, 6 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday, like every. And you guys be safe.